So, hello everyone. I'm Shanta Chitta, if you weren't here this morning. I live in Brighton and I'm part of the Triratna Earth Sangha team. And I'm delighted to introduce Akuppa again this afternoon. He hardly needs any introduction, but I'm really pleased he's joining us for a third session. And Akuppa's been involved in environmental issues in different ways for about 30 years. He was ordained in 2000 and is based in Newcastle, where he teaches at the Buddhist Centres and co-owns a vegan tea house. The more I hear about tea house, I sort of want to go and visit it. He's the author of Saving the Earth, a Buddhist View. And this afternoon, he's going to be talking, his title for his presentation is Freedom, Respect and Kinship. The more than human world will reflect on the lovability of animals and trees. Thank you. Over to you, Akuppa.
Okay, thank you, Shanti Chitta. Yeah, very good to be here. Given that my tea house keeps on getting mentioned, I'm just going to put a link. This is blatant advertising on my part. And please don't get distracted by it now. But anyway, if you want to sort of have a look at the tea house, Tea Sutra, it's on.
We're all coming.
You've got to be quick because we're thinking of selling it. So, yeah. Okay, so those of you who were here yesterday, I introduced this idea of freedom, respect, and kinship. Basically as a way of, one way that you can take into doing the metta bhavana, but one which sort of just translates very seamlessly into action, as it were. And yesterday we explored that in relation to other people, including people who are very different to us, people who we sort of disagree with, and also people who, seem to be doing some real harm in the world. How do we use the metta bhavana to bridge over those sort of divisions? And I suggested one that was like sort of phrases that you can use within the metta bhavana as being, I free you from any prejudice, subjection to power or expectation from my part. So at least I aspire to let go of any sort of prejudices which I might have towards the person concerned. Okay. I respect your place on the earth and your life to live, and your right to live your life in peace. Okay, so I respect your place in the scheme of things. And then the third one, I acknowledge our kinship and will take you into account in how I live my life. Your life affects my life. Okay. So we're giving the gift of freedom. We're giving the gift of respect, and we're acknowledging kinship. In a way, when you acknowledge kinship, there's a sort of sense in which you take on a responsibility that we stand together, of solidarity. That it's not just a kind of wishing well. It's a wishing well that has the potential, at least, to translate into action should the circumstance arise. So these three aspects: freedom, respect, kinship. Now, today, having sort of looked at human harmony yesterday, I'm going to move on to the more than human world. So, the world of animals, or should I say other animals, because we are animals, and trees, vegetation generally, plants, plant life. Okay. And I think this sort of application of the Metta-bhavana sort of works quite well. I was reading during lockdown, one of my kind of lockdown inquiries was into people like animal whisperers and so on. In a way, how they reach the point where they can feel a certain sort of communication with animals, and it seems that these three aspects all matter in a way, a sort of sense of groundedness, of not sort of it doesn't do, for example, to approach animals with a kind of sentimental feeling, like you want to cuddle them or something like that. That's bringing our own stuff, or a sense of sort of unwarranted fear, or thinking of them as evil or whatever. That this seems to be quite important, that we just approach animals quite openly, and with a respect as well, that we respect the forest where I might be. It's their home. It's their home, and they've got a right to be there. So somehow, having that attitude of respect is very important. And then something of a sort of positive well-wishing, an actual kind of kindness, seems to be something that animals pick up on as well. As I say, again, not in a sentimental way, but just a sense of solidarity. Okay. So we're going to do a couple of reflections and exercises today. So the first one is about animals. I've always been interested in how animals sort of crop up in Buddhism. Certainly, in the Buddha's life, there's many times when, particularly sort of say with elephants, that he exemplifies actually what I've just been talking about, and seems to be able to have this almost like a communication, mind-to-mind communication with animals. I think probably in the last 10 years or so, we in the West are, and I think this is a really positive development, that we're beginning to wake up to the fact that animals, the sort of inner life of animals, isn't so very different from our own. From a sort of point where some scientists were thinking that animals don't really have sensations or feelings, that they're just automatons, to now, science is now saying that, well, actually, no, they experience a range of emotions not dissimilar to our own. And I think this is now sort of seeping into, I like to think that this is sort of seeping into our culture a bit more. So, the fact that elephants go through mourning rituals, M-O-U-R, mourning rituals for the dead. They'll walk miles to go to graveyards to honour their dead. Elephants actually hold family celebrations for things like births and marriages. Did you know that? They actually sort of have little elephant parties when those things happen. Dolphins have names. They have a particular sort of sequence of squeaks that is unique to them. Rats like playing together, and they laugh. Rats laugh when they're tickled. Okay, it's just that they laugh in such a sort of high-pitched way that we can't hear them. But maybe our attitude to them would be a bit different if we could hear them. Crabs experience fear and stress. It's good to see that lobsters have just been recognised as sentient, so that awful practice of boiling lobsters alive is going to become illegal. Hooray. Whales fall in love. Geese show signs of grief, not dissimilar to those of human children. And buffaloes play on the ice. They get quite excited. They just sort of slide across the ice when they find it and make kind of gua noises as they do so. Chimpanzees get embarrassed. Chickens have quite individuated sort of personalities. Amazing. So anyway, in a way, I think the rest of us probably don't need to be sort of convinced of all of this, but I just find it really helpful that science is actually sort of validating what probably we knew anyway, just through kind of intuition, that animals have an inner life. And the capacity to think in many cases. Probably, the only difference is that we put a layer of sort of language and concepts on top of that. But in every other way, they're just like us. So, what I'd invite you to do now, I'm going to, this is an exercise about wild animals in the wild, animals in, the place that they were born, that they evolved into, and so on. We'll just have 5 minutes, and if you've got a pen and paper or a notepad on your computer or something like that, just see if you can call to mind some encounters that you've had with animals in their habitat in the wild. Okay, in your life, sort of just going back in your life, just recalling times when you've had an encounter. It might even be a sort of two-way encounter where an animal has taken you in as well, but not necessarily. Think back to maybe a few times when that's happened. Okay, and just make a little list. So we'll have about 5 minutes to do that. Okay. So I'll tell you what, if you want to put in the chat, just put down the name of one animal. Just one animal that you had an encounter with. I can't seem to find my chat anymore, but never mind. Right. Hippo, seal, skunk, octopus, blue penguin, bee, pony, water snake, baby turtles, constrictor snake, scary, pipistrelle, bats, reindeer, possums, bullocks. Wonderful. Okay, so let's just hold monkey troop. Let's hold those to one side for the moment. Now we're going to move on to something a bit similar with trees. Okay. It's one of the good things. Actually, just in the last few years, a lot of people seem to be becoming more aware of trees, and the idea that trees are just sort of inert things, just sort of matter. I think through various books and documentaries and so on that have been on, people are beginning to be open to the possibility that there's something else going on there. And just to come out with another list, one of the great advocates about the livingness of trees, the aliveness of trees, is someone called Peter Volleyban, who wrote a book called The Hidden Life of Trees. And if you haven't read it, I'll now summarise it in 1 minute. Trees have families. Trees support their sick neighbours. Trees suckle their offspring with their own sugars. They keep alive the stump of a tree that's been cut down. They communicate with each other via fungal networks to protect against predators. They communicate with each other through the air to warn of insect attacks. They've got the capacity to remember things and to adjust their behaviour accordingly. They form friendships with other trees. Trees have friends. They have something akin to a heartbeat. And they can process information in the same way as animals do, albeit much more slowly. So we can do a similar exercise now. So what I'll invite you to do is to think of some trees that have been significant in your life, or that you've got particular memories of, like particular trees in a particular place. Okay, so these might be a tree that you climbed as a child. It might be a tree that's got a particular significance, a tree that you courted under, or a tree that you just found very beautiful. Whatever it might be. Again, so we'll have about 5 minutes. And just sort of think of trees that have been in your life, that have been significant in your life. Okay. So just if you want to jot those down, make a list. Might help. Okay, great. So again, the same thing with the chat. If you like, just put in a word to say your tree. Weeping cherry, linden bough, old beech, apple, Bodhi tree, Huan pine, birch tree, grapefruit tree, oak, birch tree. Lovely. Great. Oh, and more. Birch companion, apple, white beam, ash. It's lovely just saying the names, I think. Okay. So what we're going to do in the time we've got left is basically to do a metta bhavana, which includes the animals. Montezuma cypress just come in, hot off the press, to include the animals and trees. Now, according to Divan, the Metta Sutta actually includes plants. Okay, certainly there's a reading of the Pali of the Metta Sutta, and I believe Divan, I'm sure he's right, that actually the Metta Sutta includes, under the heading of stationary beings, that is to say, plants and trees. So we're well justified in including trees and plants in the Metta Bhavana. Okay, so I'll just lead through the Metta Bhavana, and again I'll use that same sort of set of wishes in relation to both animals and plants or trees, that we are coming from a point of view of letting go of any sort of power mode or expectation over them, that we respect their place in the world, and that we acknowledge our connectedness, our kinship. So that the fact that we share our home, this planet Earth, we share with all these different forms of life, and all the life on Earth. We're part of this whole sort of vast story of evolution that's gone on. So they are our family as well, and like we generally like to think that we do towards family, we act with kindness, we look out for them. Their life affects our life. Okay, so if you'd like to get into meditation posture, whatever that is for you. So we'll begin as usual with ourselves. So the Metta Bhavana. So it's kindness to ourselves, again, without any sense of expecting too much of ourselves or judging ourselves harshly. Just openly, lovingly kind to ourselves. A sense of freedom about it. having a sense of respect towards yourself and your place here on earth and in the scheme of things. Contacting a heartfelt intention to care for yourself. Now bringing to mind a friend, a human friend. So the metta to them with that taste of freedom, really not expecting anything back. respecting, affirming their place in the world. And contacting a heartfelt sense of kinship towards them. Their life affects my life. So now bringing to mind the animal that you've, or one of the animals, or perhaps a few of them that you've been recalling this afternoon. Just liberating them from any sense of power or expectation or judgment that we have of them. Judgments of inferiority or superiority. Or of ownership. Just letting them be free as beings in their own right. I respect your place on this earth. This is your home. I acknowledge our kinship. Your well-being is my concern. And now bringing to mind one of the trees that you've recalled. And letting go of any kind of prejudices, any views that we might have about the nature of trees. I respect your place on this earth. I acknowledge our kinship. Your well-being is my concern. So now bringing to mind all of the beings who share this earth with us, human, more than human. Letting the beings be beings, letting go of any sense of ownership, control. I respect your place on this earth. This earth is our shared home. I acknowledge our kinship. Your life affects my life. Your well-being is my concern. Okay, so that's almost it for this afternoon. I suppose just one thing to say is to recall that the Buddha often urged his followers to go and find the roots of a tree to meditate under. And in a way, the metta bhavana that we've just done, to as many of you I know will know, but to do that sort of meditation, but actually immersed in nature rather than sitting in front of a screen, adds a real sort of richness to our practice. It really benefits us as well. So I don't know if it fits into your schedule for the week, but if it does, the weather's quite nice, so it's perhaps a good time to find the roots of a tree, and meditate. So with that, I'll hand over to Zach, I think. So thank you for listening this afternoon. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you, Akuppa. It was a very lovely way to spend our afternoon here. I've never done a metta bhavana like that, so that was very interesting. Yeah, definitely going to try and do something like that again in the future. Yeah, what do I want to say? Oh, well, I guess what I want to say is, well, thank you for all of you coming along to this afternoon session. Here in the UK, as you can see by a few people's cameras, it is wonderfully sunny outside. So to come in and spend time on your computer doing some Dharma practice, that surely is worthy of extra merit to put yourself in from this wonderful weather. Yeah, and with that in mind, I suppose what I'm trying to conjure up there is this sort of sense of gratitude, and you can probably tell where I'm leaning into here. This is sort of the classic Dharma appeal at the end of a class. But really, what I just wanted to sort of conjure up really is this sense of, I don't know. For me, I think what's so unique about these sessions is that it allows us to be, I don't know, it's such a unique sort of place within our kind of within the movement that we have this space where we can practice together so easily with people all over the world. You know, we've got people, we've got Vidya Vardhani in India, Suzanne in Sydney, we've got a couple of people in Germany. It's just like, it feels like this is the real unique space that we have here to just sort of practice together in a way that would be much more difficult had we not sort of have this new tool in our tool belt, so to speak. And the Buddhist Centre Online are just very keen to keep this running and keep this alive, and more importantly, to keep it on a Dharma-based economy. So to keep it, you know, this whole area of give what you can and take what you need. So many of you will have already made a donation when you signed up to the event, but you sort of don't have to. And that's sort of really how we want to keep it, to be honest. So yeah, I'm just going to put a link in the chat. I would just encourage you, if you can, if you feel moved, if you're resourced, if you have the spare financial means, then yeah, do consider giving. It just really helps us. You know, we're a large team in the Buddhist Centre Online, and that's partly because we do a lot of varied work. We have podcast work, these retreats. We have retreats all and these events all year round. And I know, yeah, just lots of different activities. I can't begin to list them all. We're an ambitious team. Let's put it that way. So yeah, that's what I'll leave you with. Yeah, all of the money goes towards supporting Dharma teachers like Akuppa, and the Triratna Earth Sangha here as well. And when it comes to giving, you can associate your gift specifically with this event. So yeah, have a great rest of your days, afternoons, wherever you are. Yeah, I'll hand back over to Shantichita in case she wants to add anything else. Yeah, that's all from me.
Thanks. Well, thanks once again to Akuppa for a wonderful session. In fact, the three sessions we've done with Akuppa have been pretty amazing. And yeah, this evening I'm doing a session on Kshitigarbha, who is the Earth Store or Earth Womb Bodhisattva. So that sort of follows on in a way, because I want to explore the earth and Kshitigarbha and compassion. So do join me tonight if you like to. Thanks, everyone.